In the headlines, 29 passengers and 3 crew members walk away safely after their airplane veers off the runway at Douglas Charles Airport on Monday. MV Pacific hope to depart Dominica's shores. And a call for the liberalization of the Caribbean education system to create greater access for persons with disabilities. I'm Andrea Louis with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Red cheese, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are.
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive. Oh.
There's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, a plane registered in Santo Domingo ran off the runway when it landed at Douglas Charles Airport just after midday on Monday. Pictures of the accident spread quickly on social media, raising questions about the condition of the passengers. Airport manager Jean Williams confirmed to Channel 5 News there were 29 passengers and 3 crew members aboard the flight. Williams says the plane veered off the runway during its landing. We have no reports of injuries, but Williams told us passengers were examined by a medical team. Unconfirmed reports say the flight was coming from Tortola. That incident occurred about 12:20 p.m. In other top stories, the humanitarian aid motor vessel Pacific Hope to depart Dominica's shores on the 14th of this month. That's according to its captain, Marvin Wilson. The MV Pacific Hope first came to Dominica in May last year to help with the country's post-Maria recovery efforts. On board the vessel was a volunteer complement of medical and architecture personnel to assist with providing health care and construction works for Dominicans. However, at a recent press conference, Health Minister Dr. Kenneth Daru said the proper channels were not followed for the MV Pacific Hope to continue its services in Dominica.
And there's nowhere else in the civilized world that people can just show up on somebody's shores and decide, hey, I come back, you know? I come back and I'm ready to do stuff, especially as it pertains to health care. I mean, there are a number of medical, legal issues to deal with. And then the PS will tell you the first visit of the ship, we had some issues, and we really went out of our way, like we always do, to facilitate, because we felt at the time it was a few months after post-Maria, and then we felt that the services that were being offered were needed. So there have been times that we go out of our way to facilitate, especially, in fact, it's written in legislation that the Minister of Health in emergency situations like post-disaster can issue a license to practice. Of course, it will have to come from a recommended or highly reputable firm or company or country. And people need to understand that we have rules and regulations that have to be followed. I mean, I remember sometime last year, whatever the intentions are, I'm saying the intentions are good. We found out, the Ministry of Health, we found out from word on the street that the personnel on this boat were doing cataract eye surgeries on board the boat without the Ministry of Health. I mean, this is unacceptable. Nowhere, people get jailed for these things.
Captain Wilson says due to the failure of government and MV Pacific Hope to reach an agreement on the ship carrying out work in Dominica, the vessel will set sail for the Dominican Republic later this month.
Pacific Hope had planned on coming here for 3 years, and then we were going to be based here and help with medical, with construction, and education. When we had talked last time, we were talking about the MOU being signed, the Memorandum of Understanding, and the government has not signed the MOU. So with us, we're not allowed to do medicine. Construction's been halted, things of that sort. So we're just sitting here wasting God's money. There are many people that need help. So the Dominican Republic has reached out to us and several other Caribbean islands, and we have signed an MOU with the Dominican Republic. So we're going to head there and help them.
According to Wilson, hundreds of Dominicans had been assisted by the ship's volunteer crew during its stint here, and though crew and volunteers are sad to be leaving, their skill will be put to use elsewhere.
The plan was we were going to be at the Cabritz Wharf, and then we would be hosting teams. We do it in 3 different ways. We're not here to take over in any place, the hospital or a doctor or anything. We're here to support. As y'all rebuild, that's why we chose 3 years. In about 3 years, you should have your new hospitals up, all your clinics going and everything. So we can help until then. And then we leave. But people can use the help all over the world. And so we've just not been allowed to work here, to continue working here, and we have not had the MOU signed. So we're going to be leaving on the 14th.
During the MB Pacific Hope's stay here, members undertook a number of projects, including Phase 1 of the Cabritz Pier refurbishment and construction of a roof for the center where adolescents learn to love and serve, calls. In other news, with the coming on stream of a new hospital, Dominicans needing major hip and knee replacement surgery will be able to receive care in Dominica. Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Adrian Deschaussee says this development is significant in that patients will no longer have the burden of traveling overseas for these surgical procedures.
So let me just speak to my area of expertise as a consultant orthopedic surgeon. There are 2 other colleagues, I have 2 esteemed colleagues, Dr. Julian, Dr. George, and we have also embarked on expanding the already service that we do offer to the Dominican public, and that would be now extending in the area of total hip replacement, total knee replacement. And all of this is coming on stream with the advent of the new hospital, knowing that one would have access to the necessary equipment, because the expertise is already here, so it's the necessary equipment that would be required to perform such surgery. So that's a great boost for us in that department, Dr. Julian, Dr. George, myself, Dr. Deschaussee, and have that particular level of service being offered to patients requiring such an opportunity to have hip replacement or knee replacement.
Most patients who require such services in the past would have had to access them in Martinique, Guadeloupe, or outside of the Caribbean region.
It is a great triumph, I believe, for the ministers, the leadership in the Ministry of Health to have seen that foresight and have persons trained in that particular area of expertise so that we could deliver such care to our population.
Chief Cultural Officer has stressed the importance of arts in education. Julian Morris has that story.
Lawrence made the remarks during the opening ceremony of the 2019 National Schools Arts Festival on Monday. He says arts in schools help produce more well-rounded students and open the door to more career opportunities for them.
Arts in schools are very important subjects because they add to the broader education of our students and help the students develop a more holistic education. All students have artistic skills in greater and lesser degrees, but these skills need to be developed because you never know which one of the students will become our next great artist in Dominica. So it's important that we start giving our students the exposure they need from a very early age, in order that they can begin to practice and nurture their talents. Eventually, who knows, some of them will take their skills to a higher level, and some of them could even pursue careers in the arts.
Lawrence pointed out that several opportunities are being created in Dominica to further showcase the country's culture.
With so many new big hotels coming up now in Dominica, we can already see that there will be a greater demand for artistic and cultural performances at those hotels on a regular basis. So when tourists come to Dominica, apart from the natural landscape, the waterfalls, the rivers, the mountains, they get to experience the cultural expressions of our people in very exciting and colorful ways.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Corinne Prevost, pledged her ministry's support towards art and culture in the schools and says the ministry takes the role of culture seriously in developing the country's tourism product.
Career paths for students in the arts will include, of course, music, arts, cultural activities. Even in the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, with the advent of the new hotels and the growth in the tourism sector, we are seeing much more interest in entertainment, in art, in cultural activities. As a matter of fact, throughout the cruise season, we've now introduced a welcome at the cruise ship berth where we utilize cultural groups on a regular basis to sing and to perform and welcome our visitors to Dominica. So for us, culture is an integral part of the tourism sector, and cultural tourism is also a key area that we are invested in.
On display during the week will be choral music, choral speech, drama, music bands, vocal solos and creative dance. Also on display during the week will be art and craft exhibition with items produced by primary and secondary schools.
You're watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
Si ou ni maladie HIV et bien maladie sexuelle, si ou pas protéger corps lors qu'un sexe avec plusieurs monde, ça kay mette la vie ou en gros danger. Ou ka exposer tout partenaire au présent et que tant qu'il ka vini avec maladie. Servez yon condom chaque fois ou ka ni sexe. Changer qui est important pour découvrir maladie à bonheur ou ça vivre en bonne santé même si ou ni maladie HIV. Pour responsabilité, protéger corps et puis les autres. Examiner corps. Aider du bout si même maladie HIV et l'autre maladie sexuelle.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow.
Welcome back. President of the Dominica Calypso Association has called on Calypsonians to continue making the art form relevant in society. Davidson, the Observer Victor, was addressing an awards ceremony of the Dominica Calypso Association, DCA, over the weekend. Victor also commended the various partners who help sustain the country's Calypso culture.
We appreciate whoever contributes to the development of Calypso and who work with us to see that Calypso can continue to have that presence in our lives. We know that Calypso is under tremendous challenge, but we are steadfast in keeping it present because we know the importance of Calypso.
Victor, who was elected to the post of president last November, commended his executive for the role it plays in making his tenure thus far a success.
Everybody say, boy, Observer is a good president, boy. Since Observer become president of Calypso Association doing that, Calypso Association doing this, and Calypso. I love to hear, when I walk the streets and people say those things, I appreciate it, I embrace it. But it will mean nothing to me. It will mean absolutely nothing to me if I take all the praises for myself. Because I have a wonderful, formidable executive who do things to make me look good.
The rest of the DCA executive reads: Murphy Cy-John Jules, Vice President; Narin Trendsetter Murphy, Treasurer; Daryl DeBob Bob, Secretary; Kelly DeGhost Williams, Assistant Secretary Treasurer; and Derek De Hunter St. Rose, PRO. Gregory Caressa Rivera, Shirley Lady S. Charles, and Arthur Bassi Pascal also sit on the executive. Several awards were distributed at the weekend's ceremony for the unwavering support shown to the Calypso art form by media houses, the corporate community, Calypsonians, and numerous individuals. Chief Personnel Officer in the Establishment, Personnel and Training Department, Cecilia Carr, says the issue of upgrading nurses' positions and the salary scale remain a sensitive area. Speaking at a Ministry of Health news conference on Friday, Ms. Carr said they were concerned about the salaries as everyone needs a salary upgrade, but it has to be carefully addressed and implemented. The Nurses Association says in a statement on social media that the report on a job evaluation done by the Caribbean Center for Development Administration has been available since 2013. The statement goes on to say mass migration is prevalent among nurses, and that would be a justifiable reason, among others, to upgrade nurses' position, salary scale at such a critical time.
So whereas the nurses are important, there are all other upgraded positions recommended. And the recommendation states in particular that if the government of Dominica decides that the additional payroll costs resulting from the upgrading of position cannot be afforded because it's quite steep at once, a decision will have to be made to phase the increases. However, it warned, this can lead to dissatisfaction, and such action should only be taken where absolutely unavoidable. So we have to be careful in terms of the recommendation and the acceptance of those recommendations and the implementation. There are far-reaching implications in terms of costs, and it may not be necessary to do it in phases because you're going to disadvantage one group over the other. And we're quite aware, as alluded earlier, that all the jobs are important.
And the Caribbean Community CARICOM Special Rapporteur on Disability, Senator Dr. Floyd Morris, has called for the liberalizing of the education system in the Caribbean for the greater inclusion of and access for persons with disabilities. Dr. Morris, who is a director for the University of the West Indies Center for Disability Studies, made this call when he addressed the annual Down Syndrome Family Network Conference in Trinidad and Tobago on Friday, 22nd March 2019. Dr. Morris says, open quote, "Education is a major means of empowering persons with disabilities, and when we open up the education system, which is a major mechanism for socialization, we are in fact exposing individuals to a greater understanding of these individuals." Close quote. Dr. Morris noted that such exposure, open quote, will assist in changing the negative attitudes towards these individuals and contribute to a more inclusive and non-discriminatory Caribbean for persons with disabilities. Close quote.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Ripped jeans, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are,
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
there's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow.
To end the news, the headlines again. 29 passengers and 3 crew members walk away safely after their airplane veered off the runway at Douglas Charles Airport on Monday. MV Pacific hope to depart Dominica's shores. And a call for the liberalizing of the Caribbean education system to create greater access for persons with disabilities. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access or pause the newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us tomorrow.